Welcome to the Somos Sunnyside podcast, brought to you by the Communications Department of the Sunnyside Unified School District. Thank you for tuning in while we share stories about the bright side of education.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Somos Sunnyside. That's right, we are Sunnyside. I'm Jose Gastelum, the proud superintendent of the Sunnyside Unified School District. And today we have a special guest, probably needs no introductions because he's so darn popular around the community, not just in the Sunnyside community, but probably all over Pima County. It's Mr. Jamal Givens.
Hey, what's happening?
So Mr. Givens is in the house.
Yes.
And so, we have a lot to talk about. He's been a partner of Sunnyside and has worked in this community for many, many, many years. I mean, I think here in Sunnyside about 25 years, Mr. Givens.
Yes, close to that. Started off when I was 12. And so right. No, but I've been in the district for a very long time, collaborating with SUSD. I go back pretty far, actually. Yes.
Well, it's awesome. It's awesome to have you here. The work you do, we're going to talk a little bit about that and go in details with that because the work you do is important, right? It's important because there's an impact to students, an impact to community, and you're such a valuable resource. And so I want to start off with introducing your title, introducing the organization that you've created, and the organization that continues to be a partner of the Sunnyside Unified School District for so many years. And obviously we believe in the power of partnership. We believe in the value that your organization brings. And that organization is LPKNC. What's the chant?
Yeah, LPKNC.
There it is, right? How can you forget? So LPKNC, let me try to get this correct. It stands for Liberty, Partnership, Kino Neighborhood Council.
Yes.
How did I do?
Awesome.
Oh, good, because I cheated.
Let's go.
So we got it right. So LPKNC, they work, in all of our sites, working with the youth, working with students. And so tell us a little bit about, how you came into Sunnyside, how long you've been in the community. I know you started with Kodak and then created this organization, yes. but the work hasn't changed. I mean, the work is, it's prevention work, right?
That's true.
And so tell us a little bit about your journey here to Sunnyside.
Yeah, so my journey started, like I said, about 20-something plus years ago. I was working with Kodak Behavioral Health Services, and we were, Kodak Behavioral Health Services is an amazing organization. They do treatment, and they had a prevention division, which I became a part of. And I started off actually in the 36th in Park area, and also the 10th Ave projects, for those of you that are older heads out there. May know about that. And that was 22nd and 10th. And just began working with gangs and youth in the community to help them make better choices to impact our community positively. And it was just awesome. And so during that time, of course, some youth that we worked with, were a part of Sunnyside Unified School District. So we then began, partnering through Kodak with Sunnyside Unified School District. So people like Dr. Favela, I go way back, and they embraced us and said, "Hey, we need these services." And so we've been working with Sunnyside Unified School District on substance misuse, mental health, school violence, dropout, delinquency, teen pregnancy, and bullying through all those years. And it's just been an amazing partnership that we've had. And so I ended up leaving Kodak Behavioral Services because there were some challenges in funding for prevention throughout the state in general. And so Liberty Partnership, which was on the south side, primarily Irvington and South, which was run by Diana Jimenez Young at the time through Child and Family Resources, an amazing colleague of mine and friend. And I was with Kino Neighborhoods Council. Mm-hmm. And so people like Liberty Partnership, there's a lot of Richard Fimbres, Richard Elias. They had representatives that were a part of Liberty Partnership, Miss Yolanda Herrera, Miss Margie Mortimer, Miss Becky Cantero, So we all kind of started out. We were, again, this is early in the years. And then I was responsible for Kino Neighborhoods Council, and the people over there, like Mr. Willie Blake, and some other heavy hitters, Miss Maggie, I forget her last name right now. But we just all used to play together, if you will, on helping to reduce substance and misuse and promoting mental health and wellness. And around 2011, I say 2011, 2012, because it was towards the end of 2011, when funding was challenged and we needed to figure out what could we do. So we ended up merging the two coalitions together because they had been working together through the years, because it's all Southside, in my mind, and the community in which we were talking was saying, hey, 22nd Street and South is all Southside. And so let's just merge together. So what was really interesting, though, is a lot of the people, because we had OGs on the committee, didn't want to change their name. I begged them. I said, hey, this name is going to be challenging if we hold on to it. But each group was like, no, we want to keep Liberty Partnership and we want to keep Kino Neighborhoods Council. And I was like, all right, y'all, if y'all want to do this. So you put it together, you get LPKNC. Believe me, I fought, but
and it's just known as LPKNC.
That's
right?
all. Yeah, no, nobody ever uses the other name. I mean,
absolutely,
that's what everybody knows, man.
Yeah,
so,
you named some. As you were dropping names there, I mean, just some heavy hitters there.
Steve Leal,
just people in the community that just have deep roots on the South Side and just deeply care.
Yes.
Correct about the people of this community, right? The Sunnyside community, the Southside community. And so these are individuals that are lifelong just fighters of protecting this community. And so,
very much so.
Some powerful, it's a blast from the past, when you start naming a lot of these individuals and come across them, still come across some of them, in terms of the work that we do. And so, when you mentioned 10th and 22nd, I actually went to preschool back then, and off of 10th and 22nd there was a Head Start there, probably still there.
But it was there. Yeah.
Grew up in that area before I started school here in Sunnyside myself. But you named the important pieces of why you came together. Why you started this organization, and so if there's any time to support youth, it's right now. It's right now. There's so many, I call them distractions, right? There's so many distractions, so many temptations out there, so many, decisions that kids have to make on a daily basis. And one of the things that you guys do is you're combating this use of drugs, whether it's alcohol, marijuana, whether it's vaping. Vaping's such a big topic right now, whether it's bullying, just bullying itself. You did an awesome presentation for our parent engagement forum that we had that has all our 21 schools there, and we have about 10 parents from each school, so over 200 individuals, and you did a phenomenal job of really presenting factual information to our parents, and more importantly, bringing down their anxiety, right, in terms of, all right, this is what it is, and here are the resources. If your child is experiencing these types of problems, here's where you need to go. Gave us an opportunity as a school district to present some of that data as well, in terms of bullying and other things. And so I think the important thing here, and the big message to our listeners here, is that we have some strong resources, and we've partnered with LPKNC over the years to make sure that we are serving our students that are in need, right? And so tell us a little bit about how you work with Sunnyside, how you work in our schools. I want our listeners to understand that. I want our parents to understand that the schools understand it, because we work with it, we live it. But I want, parents out there and listeners out there to know that we deeply care about these social emotional journeys of students, of what they're having to combat every day if they are having some of these issues. And more importantly, where do they go, right? How do they find resources? How do they find, solutions to some of these challenges? So tell us a little bit about some of the programs that we have here at Sunnyside that you've partnered with us, and tell us about, how they can reach out and get some of these resources.
No, that's great. No, thank you. Yeah, a lot of the programs that we offer are definitely evidence-based and evidence-informed, and so prevention is key. A lot of times, so because I come from the treatment world, like I said, working with Kodak over 20 years, also was that I was seeing a lot of students who were coming through, and this is throughout Pima County, to treatment services. And I was always asking myself the question of, how did they get to this point? And so I was the director of prevention and intervention services, and it was, okay, we need to spend more time and focus on being what we call upstream. How do you prevent youth when they're moving into adulthood to not have these particular issues, whatever it may be? And so taking the time to educate not only our young people, but the parents about things that they can do and the conversations that they need to be having with their young people is important. And so a lot of and this is one of the things I appreciate about Sunnyside Unified School District and our partnership, is that, we look at trends or things that might be coming up to prevent them as best as we can, to start the conversations early. With people like Director of Safety and Security, Ryan and I are always communicating, and he's letting me know things that he's seeing a little bit of an uptick on. That may not necessarily become an issue, but he's like, hey, maybe we should start working on this. Speaking with you, and even Maricela and others, principals in the schools. Most of the principals at a lot of the schools I've known because we kind of grew up together, if you will, over these last 20 years knowing each other. And so we look at the issues that might be coming about or that might already be here. What I really appreciate also about Sunnyside Unified School District is that they're willing to pivot if need be. There was an instance in time when we had K2 spice that was an issue, just kind of came out of anywhere. It came out of nowhere.
I remember that. I was a high school principal at the time.
That's right, West Virginia. Yep.
Right,
So,
and we had to do a town hall at the Desert View High School because of that, because it was just such a
it just came out of nowhere.
At the time.
Yeah, and bath salts, and so now marijuana is an issue. And so what we tell parents and what we tell the young people is it's important to know that you have choices. And you are responsible for your choices that you make. And we want to give you enough information to make the correct choice. And what we do is we educate them on the facts. And unfortunately, there is a lot of myths, misinformation, and not facts that are out there in the social media world. And so we as adults and young adults that are part of our team educate the young people to say, hey, these are the facts.
Right.
And we don't, pull any punches. We keep it real. We keep it 100 with them so that they can never come back to us and say, oh, you lied to me about this, that. No, the fact of the matter is you have a choice when it comes to if you choose to bully or if you choose to use this particular substance, maybe alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, meth. Those are choices that you make. As far as joining a gang or not, that's a choice that you're making. And in addition to that, we educate parents, because a lot of times parents are misinformed because they're not keeping pace with what's happening today.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm glad you hit on that point. I mean, parent education is so important because kids are slick, right? I mean, that's a whole nother world, when it comes to, accessibility to these substances, whether it's drugs, vaping, and all these other things. It's a whole different world. I mean, it is a market, and so there's codes that kids use to text to get what they want. And so there's menu of things that they can get. And so it's a reality. And so it's so important for parents to get involved, get engaged, and get educated on what's out there.
So
when I think of vaping devices, I've heard that there's highlighters. I've seen the highlighters that look like that are vape pens, but they look like school highlighters that you would use, right, as a school tool. what do you call them? The cords from your hoodie
Yep.
now can be
Exactly.
used as a vaping device.
Mm-hmm.
Things that look like a jump drive for your computer is like a vaping device. And so, one of the things, and when we show parents these types of pictures and we show them these objects, because obviously we have confiscated, many of these types of vaping devices and other things in our schools, and they're in all schools, right? I mean, it's around and accessible to teenagers. So my point here is this is definitely a shared responsibility, right? When it comes
100%.
to educating your children, educating your parents, and so I'm just so glad that these resources are available. And I will speak for Sunnyside School District when it comes to we put it out there. Like we're not holding back. We're not saying it doesn't happen in our district, because I know that other organizations operate that way. They want to keep it hush hush. And this is something we have to be transparent about, because
100%.
it is an issue, and there's always going to be a hot item out there, right? I mean, back in the day, it was a lot of marijuana use. Then you had K2 spice. There's pills out there. There's fentanyl going on right now. There's vaping stuff going on right now, and so
So true.
we have to continue to educate the youth, but also our adult parents and our employees, right, that serve these students. And so,
And if I may jump in, I mean, one of the things that I want to highlight and let this community know, I have the opportunity to travel throughout Pima County and the state, and I work with various organizations. I'm on various committees, and one of the things I've always appreciated, and I hope other districts will hear this, is that, and I tell this to the districts when I get the opportunity to meet with them, the admin, is that, look, the challenge for schools is that youth go to a place in the community where they are all there in that space. And the school doesn't provide or even allow the substances that come into the schools. They're not selling it. The community at large is the ones that are selling this stuff.
that's right.
And so one of the things that I've always appreciated about Sunnyside Unified School District, and to your point, I believe, is that it's not really a school problem, it's a community problem.
Exactly.
So when we're talking about educating youth and we're talking about educating parents, we also got to educate our community
Right.
in general
Right.
that may not have kids in the school system, but
Yeah.
they need to understand that they play a role also.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to understand that we want to educate everybody so that they can make good decisions and help our youth.
Absolutely. We're going to go to a quick break, but don't go away. We got so much more to talk about.
You will love SUSD. Don't believe us? Just watch. In Sunnyside Unified School District, students dream big, learn boldly, and grow confidently. From hands-on STEM and arts programs to student athletes earning athletic scholarships, Sunnyside District gives every student a place to shine. Enrollment for the 26-27 school year is now available. Enroll today at susd12.org.
All right. And so you were talking a little bit about, this issue being the substance issue being a community problem. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I look at it, and I'm no expert at all, but I look at it as it's a domino effect, with what's going on in the community. And I don't want to go down rabbit holes here, but so as you have more people on the streets, you have more drug dealers on the streets. And so, it's not something that's, it's being collected in the community, and it's brought into homes, it's brought into schools, it's brought into workplaces and those things. And so so one of the things I want to do is I want to shift to talk about how we get youth involved. I know what some of the partnerships we have is, and you mentioned it earlier. Let me start with this piece of our safe and orderly meetings, because our safe and orderly teams, led by our director of security, Ryan Powell, and our executive director of student services, Andy Townsend, They have monthly meetings with our administrators, and we talk about these patterns and trends. I mean, because the communication is important, right? Like, what's hot out there right now? What's going on? What's in the streets? What's in the schools? What's the trend? But it's also important that our resource partners are there, like yourself, Mr. Givens, to give us that other insight of what you're seeing, how you're handling this thing, and so it's so important that we educate our youth. So tell us a little bit about some of the work that you do with youth and how you get them involved. And one of the things I love about your program as well is that you teach young people how to advocate for themselves. I can't tell you how many times I've seen you along with youth at city council meetings or other types of meetings where you're advocating to say, no more smoke shops. No, that smoke shop is too close to a school or to this community, right? Or to little ones, whatever that may be, a daycare, facility.
So true.
And so I love that you teach young people how to advocate, right? Because that's what it takes. Other people see it as it's a market to make money, right? It's a market for business. And they don't look at what impact it's going to have in the community. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so historically through the years, until most recently, we had youth programs in the majority of the middle schools and two of the high schools. It was called Youth Empowered for Success. Mm-hmm. Due to some funding challenges, we've had to restructure and look at that a little bit differently. And so now we have a group called the Youth Advisory Board that does similar work, but they pull from various students that volunteer from different schools in the district to be a part of this group. And so what we do is we take the opportunity to train them and let them know that they have a voice and that they can help make change in their community. And then we give them the experiences of speaking in front of Sunnyside Unified School District board, in front of City Council, the Pima County Supervisors, and also working with various community partners like Tucson Police Department and hearing from them and working with them to make some changes. And so they have a voice, and that's one of the things that we really stress also at LPKNC is that youth voice is important. And I know that Steve Holmes, the former superintendent, used to meet with students when he was here, and I think you do the same, if I remember correctly. Both of you invited me.
Yeah, we have the superintendent student advisory committee. We have
youth voice is so important, and youth need to know that them speaking up and out is a positive thing, especially if they're doing it in the correct manner. And so again, educating them. And what's really interesting is that young people, we as adults think that we have all the answers, but in fact, we don't necessarily have all the answers. Our youth know a lot of things that we don't. And so we need to hear from them, not only what's going on. A lot of times, some people may say, oh, people are snitching. And it's not about snitching. It's about just knowing the lay of the land and knowing what's going on and what's impacting people negatively. And so young people see things every day that are positive and negative. And what we want to do is support young people in their voice to continue to promote those things that are being done positively, and let's uplift that and cheerlead that. And those things that are being done negatively, let's figure out how can we find a different way of doing that to move them into a way of making better decisions. And so the Youth Advisory Board and other clubs that are youth-based are important in our community. And so we need to maintain that voice. And that's what LPKNC is all about. We're all about youth-adult partnerships.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, I think one of the important things, too, is that the youth build confidence with adults, right, in terms of relationships. I think sometimes, our teenagers, our youth can be a little intimidated by adults, and especially in their roles, right? So when you talk about bringing TPD and law enforcement in to partner to speak with youth and other resources, it's so important that they see that these individuals are there to help, right? That they're there to support, and sometimes youth can be a little intimidated by that, and so I think students find deep meaning too. What I love about it is that they have clubs at schools, like you mentioned earlier. Yes, the Yes Group that we had for many years, and they get together and they discuss these issues, and they talk about community service projects. They talk about advocating and how they get involved, and that pours into the rest of the school, right? And so they get the school and student body behind some of these important topics as well. And
100%.
so tell us a little bit about your team, because I know you're although you can probably do it all yourself, Mr. Givens. I mean, it is hard to be pulled in different directions. And so tell us a bit about your team, and I know we have programs like Marijuana Harmless. We have the program Table Talk. What is it?
Text Talk Act.
Text Talk Act.
Yeah, we got Text Talk Act.
Text Talk Act. And so we have different programs, and then some of the programs for parents,
Correct.
that you may want to discuss. But tell us a bit about your team and how they in their different roles and how they serve our school district and community.
So, like we were mentioning earlier, I founded LPKNC, which was two coalitions before, into a nonprofit in 2018. Again, to begin working upstream. And so, through these years, the majority of the team members that come on board with us are people that are from the community. They're Black and brown and bilingual and bicultural. And we work to just support young people. And again, the decisions that they make. And in wanting to support young people, we have to support parents. Mm-hmm. And so some of the workshops that we do, like you mentioned, is Marijuana Harmless. It's Marijuana Harmless, think again with the question mark. Like, do you think marijuana is not harmless? Mm-hmm. And the other thing to really share about LPKNC is, so people are clear, there are some people in my field of prevention that are abstinence only throughout your whole life, period. Mm-hmm. LPKNC is not that. And I'm not scared to say this, and it's just what we believe is that, drugs and things that are legal today, you get to make a choice. You can make a choice at 21 years of age whether you want to indulge in that or not. That's what the nation has said. Whether I agree or disagree with it does not matter. But what we teach young people is wait until you're 21 to use alcohol or not, or to use marijuana or not. And when you're 21, make that decision. But here's the facts. And so when we work with young people and we educate parents, is that we're talking about young people not using until they're 21, because that's what the law says. And so we share with them the harm that it can cause them by starting at such a young age. And unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball or something to be able to show youth that when you start at 11 or 12 years old in using substances, which is the average age actually of people starting, which is 12 to 13, is once you do that, you increase the likelihood that you're going to have an issue with that substance in your adulthood. So by 18 or 21. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we look at is delaying the onset of use for young people. So research shows that the longer it takes for somebody to start using, it decreases the probability that they'll have an issue with that substance later. So if somebody starts at 13, they're more likely to have a problem later in life.
Wow.
If they wait until they're 18, they may not have as much of an issue later in life. If they wait until they're 21, they're more likely to not have an issue. If they wait till they're 25,
correct, probably
won't have an issue whatsoever. So we educate parents about the harmful effects of substance through marijuana harmless thinking again. And I want to spend just 30 more seconds on the marijuana thing, because what a lot of parents don't understand is this is not the marijuana of back in the day.
Correct.
The THC levels of marijuana back in the day were 2 to 7%. THC was 2 to 7%. The average amount of THC sold in dispensaries today is 22%, 18 to 22% THC level. Wow. We have seen in not only this district, but other school districts where they found vape pens that have 80 to 90% THC levels in them. So imagine what that's doing to the young person's brain. So we educate parents about that. Other workshops that we have are social media and cyberbullying. You were talking earlier about the emojicons and all the symbols and things of that nature. We tell parents what those things mean, so when they run into it on their child's phone, it's not just some little caricature. It may mean something. So you got to check into that. The other thing that's really interesting, we educate parents about the clothing apparel that's out there now. I go to Walmart on the south side or Safeway on the south side, Fry's, and I see parents, adult parents or adults and maybe parents, wearing a shirt that says cookies. Most parents don't know that cookies is about vaping, and it's vaping primarily marijuana. And so these adults are promoting these things and if your child might even be wearing this shirt and you as an adult are like, oh, it just says cookies, or it just says cake, or it just says, those things imply certain things. And sometimes, and not all the time, but sometimes when people are wearing that apparel, it's a marketing tool to say, hey, if you want it, I got it. And so parents don't recognize sometimes. Oh, gotcha. So we educate them.
It's like hidden messages.
Right. And most adults don't know that's what might be being said. And so we do social media. We also do, we have Words Matter, which is a youth-led peer-to-peer training about how important words are around, derogatory terms, things that are discriminatory, using the N-word or using negative words against those that are living with a disability. So the youth actually came up with the presentation that they go into various schools in our district and even those close on the south side to educate and let them know that those words aren't good. And then we have the fentanyl presentation. That's important. Rise of Fentanyl, Killer Among Us. These are all evidence-based, evidence-informed programs. And so there's just a slew of different programs, workshops that we have. The other ones that we do are evidence-based. Keep a Clear Mind for 4th and 5th graders. We also have the Thrive program, which is for middle school and high schools. So there's a bunch of good stuff that we're educating young people to help them make good decisions. And again, they can take it or they can leave it, but we're hoping that they'll take it. And again, the team is just amazing, and they all love and respect youth and our community.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're mentioning that. A lot of times our youth don't go home and say, this is what I learned in school, or this presentation was done, because I know that you've done school town halls, right, where they do grade level town halls, and you've gone to Desert View, you've gone to Sunnyside, you've gone to some of our middle schools, Star, Academic High School, and you've had different conversations on some of these different topics that you've covered, whether it's marijuana harmless, whether it's vaping, whether it's Words Matter. And I've seen it, I've seen it live, I've seen you in action, and you are so good at just presenting, your presentation skills are awesome, and you get down to that level of those students, and I think what we want them to do is we want them to engage, we want them to listen, and we want them to think, right? We want them to walk out of there thinking about, what did I just hear? Is that correct? Is that data correct? If I start at this age, what are my chances of continuing, substance abuse or not? And those types of things. So truly, truly appreciate, all the work you're doing in Sunnyside. And, this is, this show really is for our parents, not only our youth, but we want you to listen to this show, this episode with your children, and know that there are resources out there. We're not hiding anything. There's drugs in every school, and kids got to make decisions. It's hard to be a teenager sometimes when peer pressure is real, right? I mean, when another individual puts pressure on you to make a decision of whether you're going to use drugs or not, whether you're going to make that decision or not, it is very difficult. And so we want to make sure that you and your kids have the tools to make these decisions and to make better decisions, for that matter, in terms of doing what's best for each individual. And so,
and as you're closing out, I'd like to share it, and I want all the listeners to know and understand that this is not a Southside issue. Everywhere I go throughout the state, I'm a part of a large organization called Substance Abuse Coalition Leaders of Arizona, which is statewide. We have these conversations because this is an issue, mental health and substance misuse across the state, rural, urban, Maricopa. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, point blank, Sahuarita, Santa Rita, South Point, Catfoot, they all are dealing with these issues. Sunnyside is bold enough to say, hey, let's talk about it. And I want to do that with all districts. And so us being able to say, let's talk about it and prevent it is the best way to do it as opposed to sweeping it under the rug. Absolutely. And so, in closing for me, the most important thing is for parents, talk to your kids about it. Talk. And talk early and often, and let them know what your consequences are.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that. It's okay, parents, for you to check your child's phone.
Yes.
You own that phone. It's not your kid's phone. You paid for that phone.
It's true.
You own that phone, and it's okay that you review what's going on, because a lot of the messaging that happens amongst kids is on their phones, and you talked about social media earlier, and so and I'll reiterate what you said. It's so important to have these conversations and also know the signs, right? Look for some of these signs. Look for some of these things that are happening, and as you mentioned, I mean, we at Sunnyside, we want the very best for our kids. We want the very best for every single student. We want them to make good decisions and have a great student experience here. But we understand as you grow up, every year gets a little tougher as you get older, right? Because decisions get a little bit heavier as you get older as well. And so I just want to thank you for the partnership. We believe in the power of partnership. We believe in resources, and to the parents out there, if you have questions, if you are seeking resources, you can look up LPKNC. You can come directly to us. We'll point you in the right direction, and we'll leave it with this. We'll give Mr. Givens any last comments, any shout outs, I know you're a great karaoke singer, but
that is true.
I don't know if we have time for that right now. I don't know if it's the appropriate space for that.
Right.
But anything else you want to say?
Speaking of karaoke, lean on me when you're not.
There we go.
So
get them going.
I would just say, if you want to reach out to us, we're here for the community. We're here for you. It's LPKNC at lpknc.org. Reach out to us. We're there for you. We have community workshops. And if you need us to come to maybe a community meeting that you're having, or something small in your area at a church or anything like that, give us a call or email us at lpknc at lpknc.org. It's really important, and we're here for you all. So that's lpknc at lpknc.org.
All right. I think they got it.
LPKNC.
There you go. And lastly, I just want to point this out because, you do a special event every summer, and you do a gala, and you recognize youth, you recognize adults in the community that have contributed to this cause, right? That have had an impact in the community, in terms of prevention, and in terms of working with youth or working with people, right? That's and true. So I really love that you take the time to celebrate that. Because it's a time to share a little bit of information and to give these individuals the recognition that they deserve. So thank you for doing that. We truly appreciate that. And many Sunnyside employees have been recognized over the past for the work that they've done with students. So that's all we got for you today, parents. I know that was heavy. I know that was a lot of great information, but it's something that we have to discuss and be open with. And so we want to let you know that we're partners with you as well, and that we're here to support you. And so once again, please reach out. And
that's LPKNC at lpknc.org.
There you go. just one more time. So that sums up our show. Hasta la próxima. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Somos Sunnyside. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it entertaining. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and share our podcast with la comunidad. For updates on future episodes and more, be sure to follow us on social media and visit our website at susd12.org. We appreciate your support and can't wait to have you back for the next episode. Hasta la próxima vez en Somos Sunnyside.